All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update, and I'm going to tell you guys right off at the beginning of this update that you have been lied to, and I have been lied to by Warner Brothers, and the hits just keep coming for this company, and it is unbelievable. So I was sent some documents over the weekend from several individuals. Now, I cannot show them in my video, but they were real. And I can't show them here because they were considered intellectual property of Warner Brothers. It clearly states on the documents I cannot share them because it could be a legal problem if I did. And so you guys have to understand that I can't show it, but I actually have these. I have them. I have all the documents, and I went through these. And this is pretty crazy stuff. If you go through years 2021 and 2022, when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, and then also when the Suicide Squad was released on HBO Max, and also going into Peacemaker, they had investor calls. There were papers that were put out. There were these documents sent out to everybody on these calls. And Zack Snyder's Justice League was one of the biggest investor promotional things that they had. It had a lot of streams. They talked about it in this document, that it was a staple and a huge thing for HBO Max and for the company. When the Suicide Squad came out, not mentioned anywhere. It was not talked about in streaming numbers. It was not talked about success-wise. So for them to say it was the #1 streaming movie on HBO Max, and I actually showed an article on this before, it was never any of those things. And you have to understand that HBO Max has never publicly released numbers. And what's even crazier is Peacemaker came out, and they said it was like the top streaming show ever on HBO Max. Now think about that for a minute. Think about the subject, the nature of the show, and the subject matter, and they're trying to call it the #1 streaming show ever on Max, when in fact, it was never mentioned in these investor calls. It was never mentioned in the quarterly reports. It was nothing that they touted. It was nothing they discussed. It was not a part of the conversation. We have been lied to. All right, there's some crazy stuff. I also have a 13-page document I may end up going through. I need to go through it and see what it has to talk about, but it was something that was actually made available to the public. That I could probably share, and I may do that in a separate video at some point. But guys, we've been lied to. Those properties, what Gunn did, they were not the hits they said they were. Zack Snyder's Justice League was, as well as some other things on there. They talked about, I can't remember, actually, I'll pull it up so I can actually talk what I could do. I can't share it, but I could talk about the things that were the big hits that they were talking about during that, because these were just things. So this I can share. So this goes back to Q1 of 2021. And it does say down here at the bottom that it is AT&T intellectual property. So I cannot share the numbers. I cannot talk about what they discussed in here. But this whole thing talks about Warner Media, direct-to-consumer subscription revenues, global subscribers, domestic subscribers, and what was the content that was resonating with the subscriber base at the time. So this was back in quarter of 2021. It was Godzilla versus Kong. It was Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was The Nevers and Mayor of Easttown. And that was actually a good show. My wife and I watched that. Outside of that, I can't discuss what it says here because of what it is. And this is on slide 11. It says nothing about the Suicide Squad on there, but Godzilla versus Kong, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Nevers, and Mayor of Easttown. On the next one here, this one was for Q2 of 2021. The Friends reunion was doing well. Space Jam did well for them. Succession, Mayor of Easttown, and Dune. Again, no mention of Peacemaker, no mention of the Suicide Squad. So if we go even further into it, we've got Q3 of 2021. We have Succession, Dune. I don't even know. I can't even read what this says. And then it looks like it was the what was that? I can't even see what that says. This is a weird poster. But it looks like it might have been for the, that movie with Keanu Reeves, the last film that wasn't really that well done. Yeah, two of these posters I can't even make out what they are, which tells you this was a slow time for the company at that point. And then we go even further into quarter 4 of 2021. And the movies that were doing well for them on HBO Max, the content was The Batman, House of Dragons, Flash, and something called Winning Time. That was it, guys. There was no mention in any of these documents whatsoever in regards to Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad. The other things, other things were doing well, but those properties were not. And so, guys, we've been lied to this whole time. Like, that is some crazy stuff. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at the things that I've grabbed since my last DC update. So this is video game related, and this has to do with Grand Theft Auto 6. And it says Florida Joker drops lawsuit and wants to voice the character instead for $50,000 or $100,000. And it says Lawrence Sullivan, a.k.a. the Florida Joker, has threatened to sue Rockstar Games for using his likeness in the GTA 6 trailer, but has since decided against the lawsuit, asking instead to join the voice cast as the character, and for a steep price, too. So this is, you can see the guy's got Batman on his forehead. And so the guy that this was inspired by said, nope, I want to be paid for this. And I thought this was kind of goofy. I could tell you to voice a character in a game like that, being a voice actor, you're not going to make that kind of money on one game. It's just not going to happen. This guy is living in La La Land. Here's a pretty cool AI photo of Christopher Reeve as Superman, as well as Adam West as Batman. I thought this was kind of cool. I will include this in my folder. It does look like he has the right amount of fingers there, which is nice for a change. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Now, I grabbed some stuff here. So it says Penguin, Colin Farrell gets a comic-accurate upgrade in latest set photos. So I'm going to show you guys a number of photos here. And what they were talking about in this article was the fact that he's got the vest underneath his trench coat there. And they're expecting at some point he might get the monocle and his cigarette there. But he's looking more and more like the Penguin. I thought he looks closer to the Penguin than anything we've seen in any of the movies so far. And I am actually excited for this show. I'm looking forward to this premiering, and we'll do a review on it when it gets released. But let's take a look at some of these photos. So there we go. We got the trench coat with the vest underneath it. He definitely is looking like the Penguin there. He looks a little disheveled. And this is, obviously there's some destruction behind him. So I don't know if a bomb went off or what's going on here. Yeah, there's actually some smoke there. He's got actually some stuff on his clothes. So it looks like an explosion has gone off. Oh, and there's a shopping cart. I wonder if this was like at a grocery store or somebody tried to do a hit on him. This is pretty cool. All right, guys, so lots of Penguin photos there. I think that's pretty cool. Here's something that Zack Snyder had released a long time ago, and I don't think I've ever shared this on my videos, but this was pretty cool. This is when he was filming scenes during the pandemic for Zack Snyder's Justice League, when he was filming these things at his house. And I have talked about how, Ben Affleck talked about having to go to his house to record some of this stuff. So they set up a green screen and filmed all of this. This is how they did the Joker scene and all of the nightmare scene at the end of the movie. It was all done here in his backyard, which is pretty cool. Now, this is something I have brought up a lot in the past, but this is always a good reminder to go back and let people know how the directors thought, what their thought process was after Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. And it says, Patty Jenkins says Joss Whedon's Justice League isn't DCEU canon, that all of us DC directors tossed that out just as much as the fans did. And I remember Muschietti, who directed The Flash, also mentioned the same thing. And I can tell you that the comic tie-in for The Flash did discuss this and did make Zack Snyder's Justice League canon, and I did have a video on that from a long time ago. Here's something I share, and just as a reminder of how close we were to having golden DC Cinema with these two guys going at it on the big screen. This is the biggest loss out of everything. As a Batman fan, being my favorite character, this is the project I was most excited for. And again, it got ripped out from underneath us because of Warner Brothers. Now, this popped up over the weekend, and I thought it was interesting. It says, James Gunn says at least one of the stories that DCU leaks shared are not true. And there are 3 stories here. The first is that Darren Aronofsky is in talks to direct a Plastic Man movie, and I remember seeing something for that. Teen Titans film is in early development, and that a Sergeant Rock film is in development. And this person said, have fun guessing. So here's what's crazy about this. The only project in here that anybody's going to care about is Teen Titans. And how you can have a Teen Titans without having a developed world to begin with doesn't make sense. Nobody is asking for a Sergeant Rock film. Nobody is asking for a Plastic Man movie. Again, it goes to show you that they're doing these weird off characters that nobody cares about. And this is the problem with the first slate for DC, is that there's only like 3 projects in there, 3 projects that are even interesting. I think for me, the only ones I'm interested in seeing or would be any good would be Superman Legacy, Batman the Brave and the Bold, the Green Lantern TV show, and Swamp Thing. The rest of the stuff, garbage. Stuff nobody asked for. And they're starting off with Creature Commandos, which is ridiculous. Now, over the weekend, James Gunn was also asked about his favorite Batman books that weren't written by Frank Miller or Grant Morrison, and he posted these on his Threads account. You have Batman the Killing Joke, Batman Son of the Demon, Absolute Batman, the Court of Owls. That is a great story. You have Batman the Long Halloween, which is a great story. A Lonely Place of Dying, which is a great story, which is a follow-up right after we had... I talked about this in my last video, the comic one I put up, that, A Death in the Family. That was a follow-up to that. You have the Batman, Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader. You have Batman Hush, which is another fantastic story. Batman City of Crime, and Batman Monster Men. So there are quite a few things here that he posted that he really liked. Whether he's read these things or not, who knows, but... I think any one of these would be great projects to adapt. This was the big news over the weekend, yesterday, that Nathan Fillion let it drop that we already know that he is set to play Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, in the upcoming Superman Legacy movie. And it says, hopefully the costume won't be CGI. Nathan Fillion confirmed that a table reading for Superman Legacy is in Atlanta this week, and that he has costume fittings soon. Now, my fear with this. So, this movie is going to be very telling, Superman Legacy is. It's going to be very telling on what they do with the costumes, because my fear is that he's going to go all goofy silly like he did with Suicide Squad and I just have this horrific fear that the Green Lantern suit is going to be a ridiculous suit. That is going to be something you might have expected to see back in the 70s or 80s on TV. That is my fear with what James Gunn is doing with DC at this point. It's a real, legitimate fear. Now, the last thing I'm going to start doing here at the end of every video is the Warner Brothers Discovery Stock Watch. And what we have here right now, these are current numbers. And you can see that Warner Brothers Discovery is at 9.83 cents per share, and it is up almost 0.2%, $0.2, 20 cents, 2% since it opened today. And so this is today, it's up almost 2%. You can see it fluctuated down there in real time. But they are still not doing well. You can see that the stock almost hit $10 a little bit earlier. You can see that right there at about 9.95. But I never thought it would go below $9 or $10, but we've been hovering in the 9 here for almost a week. And we're going to see it's slowly going down, and we're going to see where it closes. But I'm going to start doing this. Every time I do a video, I'm going to show you guys the stock watch for Warner Brothers Discovery. All right, guys, so there you have it, my DC update for the day. It's always nice that we have been, to know that we've been lied to by the studio, and that things that they said happened never happened, and that, we're moving forward with a movie that could be potentially amazing, but also has a very good possibility of being something horrific. It could destroy the DC brand forever. But we'll see when Superman Legacy gets released. I will be covering the entire production as things get released. I do appreciate all the support. We will see you guys on the next video.